Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Up until now, we have covered most of the theory, but in this session and in next section, we are going to solve some of the numerical problems that are related to theory that we have studied earlier. Now, these are basically the end chapter problems of chapter number 2, Bernard's Clark, the book that we have been referring to for using for making the lecture. But before we start with the problem 2.1, I would like to go through one small concept that is very relevant in solving these problems. One thing is that if you recall from the previous lectures, we have three category of the sources. Number one was analog source, where we had to convert every analog information to digital one. Then we have got the second category, that was textual messages, and in that case we have to convert the textual information to digital bits. And the third one was the digital source, which was already generating the message in digital format. So in principle, the baseline is whatever the type of source we are dealing with, in the end we have now got a bit stream. So now these bit stream is basically what we have to transmit. So when we have to transmit these digitally, one possibility is that we transmit it in the form of one bit at a time, which means I want to transmit one bit at one time, which means either I'm going to transmit 1 or I'm going to transmit 0 with whatever is basically present in my bit stream. But there is another option. Then instead of transmitting one bit at a time, I group 2 bits or 3 bits or 4 bits or 5 bits at one time and transmit that group of bits as a symbol. This is what we call this as a new symbol. If I write this line, if I read this line, groups of k bits can be combined to form a new digit or symbols from a finite symbol set or alphabet of m is equal to 2 raised to power k. So let's say I choose k equal to 1. That is the case when I am transmitting only one bit at a time. It means I am doing the binary transmission. But if I choose the value of k as 2, this will make it 2 raised to power 2, that is 4. It means I can have 4 different symbols. Now if I look at the binary combination that I can make with 2 bits, that would be 0 0 0 1 1 0 or 1 1. It means I have 4 possible options. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide or partition my bit stream into groups of 2 and then transmit every group of 2 as a separate symbol, and I'm going to call that system as m array system. So if I have value of m is equal to 4, it would be 4 array system. If the value of m is equal to 3, it will be 8, it will be 8 array system. And if m is equal to 16, that would be 16 array system, and so on. So it means I can transmit in the bit data or the bit stream in two ways. Number one is that I transmit one bit at a time, or the other way is that I group the bits and then I transmit those group as a separate entity. Now what is the advantage of grouping these bits into symbols and then transmitting these symbols? The basic or the very fundamental advantage that I'm going to get with this thing is that I will be increasing my bit rate, but definitely there is going to be a certain cost that I have to pay, and we are going to discuss those later on. So moving on to the next situation. Now starting off with problem 2.1, I have already shared the lecture slides of these problems. So starting off with problem 2.1, it says that you want to transmit the word how using 8 array system. Part A says that encode the word how into a sequence of bits using 7-bit ASCII coding followed by an 8-bit for error detection per character. The 8-bit is chosen so that the number of ones in 8 bits is an even number. How many total bits are there in the message? So moving on to the solution of part A. In chapter number 2 of Bernard's Clark, you will find the ASCII table, and let me get the exact page number for you, and it would be okay. It is on page number 59. You will find an ASCII table on page number 59. So if I use that ASCII table and I want to have the 7-bit ASCII code for each alphabet, so let's say I have H. So for H, the ASCII character ASCII coding is 0001 001. These are the 7 bits that are basically the ASCII code from the table. Now based on this thing, I need to append an 8th bit because we encode every character in group of 8. So I need to add one more bit here. So as per the rule given in part A, I need to add this bit as per the rule that number of ones should be even, which means I'm following an even parity. So if I look at this H, I already have 2 bits that are 1. It means number of ones are even. So the last bit that I'm going to append is 0. So this makes it 0001 0010, which is the ASCII character 8-bit ASCII character code for the character H. And same goes true for O, and same goes true for W, where the last bit in each character coding is basically nothing but the parity bit that is basically following an even parity. So if I count these bits, I am encoding every character with 8 bits, and I have 3 characters. It means I have total of 24 bits. So part A is answered that there are 24 bits in the message that I have to transmit if I want to transmit the word how using 3 alphabets HOW. Moving on to part B. Part B says that partition the bit stream into k is equal to 3 bit segments. Represent each of 3 bit segment as an octal number. How many octal symbols are there in the message? So if I take the same sequence of bits like this, and I want to partition each, I partition the whole bit stream in the groups of 3. So it will make it 000 100 101 and so on. So I can group this bit stream into groups of 3. So as we know already that we can have 8 different possible combinations using 3 bits. So and if I allocate a code to every combination of bits, it is known as the octal number. So it would be, octal numbers are basically from 0 to 7. So based on whichever code that I am going to have, I am going to assign an octal number to every group of 3 bits. So this is octal number 0, this is 4, this is 5, this is 7, this is 1, this is 7, this is 5, and this is 3. This is basically the octal representation of all the bits. So moving on to part C, if the system were designed with 16 array modulation, how many symbols would be used to represent the word how? So if I talk about 16 array modulation, it means when I am using the formula m is equal to 2 raised to power k, the value of m here is 16, which means k has the value equal to 4. So if I have 24 bits in total, which is HOW has 24 bits in total, and if I want to have 4 bits per symbol, then I'm going to have total of 6 symbols. And if I want to have my system designed as 256 array modulation as in part D, it would be 8 bits per symbol, and 8 bits per symbol will make it total of 3 symbols across the message. So in summary, I can transmit the word how using 24 bits in total, and if I want to represent these 24 bits in the group of 3 and make an octal representation, it is given in part B. And if I have 4 bits per symbol, then I can have 6 symbols in total, and if I have 8 bits per symbol, I can have 3 symbols in total. So moving on to problem 2.2. Problem 2.2 says that we want to transmit 800 characters per second, where each character is represented by its 7-bit ASCII code word followed by an 8th bit for error detection per character as in problem 2.1. A multi-level pulse amplitude modulated waveform with m is equal to 16 levels is used. Part A says that what is the effective transmitted bit rate, and part B is what is the symbol rate. So in general, bit rate is basically number of bits that I can transmit in 1 second. It is usually denoted by R with the subscript B, but in many literature you will find R without the subscript B, but it also means it is bit rate. So I have number of characters per second, which is 800 characters per second, and I know from the 7-bit ASCII table plus 8-bit for error detection, each character here is represented by 8 bits. So if I have total of 800 characters that I am transmitting in 1 second, how many bits I need to transmit is simply calculated by multiplying this 800 characters per second multiplied by number of bits per character. So if I have 800 characters per second and each character is represented by 8 bits per character, then I am going to have the bit rate that is equal to 6400 bits per second. And part B says that what is the symbol rate. Now this is where I was transmitting these bits as 1 bit per at a time, but if I want to transmit these bits by grouping them into different groups and having each symbol transmitted. So if I have 16 symbol, m is equal to 16, so it means I have a system that can have 16 symbols, which means the value of k here, or the number of bits per symbol here, will be 4. So I have 4 bits per symbol. So if I have 4 bit per symbol and I want to calculate the symbol rate is the number of symbols that I am going to transmit in 1 second. So bit rate is basically 6400 bits per second. This was when I was transmitting 1 bit at a time, but now I am transmitting 4 bits at a time, so I need to divide the bit rate with the number of bits per symbol. So RS is equal to RB over K. This is the standard formula to convert RB into RS. So I'm going to have 6400 bits per second divided by 4 is equal to 1600 symbols per second. It means if I transmit 1 bit at a time, I need to transmit 6400 bits per second. But if I want to transmit 4 bits per symbol, then I can transmit the same data in terms of 1600 symbols per second. Moving on to problem 2.3, it says that we wish to transmit 100 characters alphanumeric message in 2 seconds using 7-bit ASCII coding, followed by an 8th bit for error detection per character, as in problem 2.1. A multi-level pulse amplitude modulated waveform with m is equal to 32 level is used. Part A says that I need to calculate the effective transmitted bit rate and the symbol rate, and part B says that repeat part A for 16 level PAM, 8 level PAM, 4 level PAM and PCM waveforms. So going for part A, as we did in problem 2.2, bit rate RB is given as number of characters per second multiplied by number of bits per character. So now we have 100 characters in 2 seconds, which means that makes it 50 characters per second. So 100 characters divided by 2 seconds is basically 50 characters per second, and each character is represented by 8 bit. So 50 into 8 will give me 400 bits per second. That is the effective bit rate. And if I want to convert this bit rate into symbol rate, I need to use the formula RS is equal to RB over K, where K is basically number of bits per symbol. So for m is equal to 32, the value of K is equal to 5. That makes it 80 symbols per second. And if I repeat for 16 level pulse amplitude modulated system, then I'm 8 level, 4 level and PCM, then I can have this symbol rate. I have used the same formula RS equal to RB over K, The only difference here is that the value of k here is 4, the value of k here is 8, the value, in fact the value of k here is 3, and so on. So for PCM's waveforms or binary waveforms, we have bits of symbol that are equal to 400 symbols per second. For 4 level PAM, we have k value of k that is equal to 2, and for 8 level PAM, we have the value of k that is equal to 3, and for 16 level PAM, we have the value of k that is equal to 4. Moving on to next problem, we have to skip problem 2.4 and 2.5 because these are more of theoretical things that we have already covered. So you do not need to solve problems 2.4 and problem 2.5. Now moving on to chapter problem number 2.6, it says that determine the number of quantization level that are implied if the number of bits per sample is in a given PCM code is 5, 8 and x. Now as we have used this formula during the theoretical derivation, and that the number of quantization levels should be the power of 2, which means capital L should be equal to 2 raised to power small l. It means that I have to use this formula L is equal to 2 raised to power small l. So if I have number of bits that is equal to 5, then number of quantization level will be equal to 32, that is 2 raised to power 5 is equal to 32. Now if I have number of bits per PCM sample is given as 8, it would make it the quantization level equal to 256, and if it is x, that will make it 2 raised to power x. So moving on to problem 2.7, and determine the minimum sampling rate necessary to sample and properly reconstruct the signal x of t is equal to sine 6280t divided by 6280t. Now moving on to this one, this is basically nothing but the Nyquist criteria problem. So what I need to do is I need to find out the maximum frequency that is present in this signal. So if I see the numerator of this function, that is sine 6280t, and if I equate this 6280t equal to 2 pi ft, then f turns out to be 1000 hertz. So you need to equate 6280t equal to 2 pi ft. So t will be cancelled out, 2 pi will be 6280 will be divided by 2 pi, and that is going to give you the value of the frequency, the f max is equal to 1000 hertz. Now as per Nyquist criteria, we need to have the minimum sampling frequency that is twice the maximum frequency present in the signal. So if I have a signal for which f max is equal to 1000 hertz, then definitely I need to have the minimum sampling frequency that is equal to 2000 samples per second. So moving on to problem number 2.8, it says that consider an audio signal with the spectral component limited to frequency band 300 to 3300 Hz. Assume that a sampling rate of 8000 samples per second will be used to generate a PCM signal. Assume that the ratio of peak signal power to average quantization noise power at the output needs to be 30 dB. Part A says that what is the minimum number of uniform quantization level needed and what is the minimum number of bits per sample needed. So just to give you a quick reminder, we have derived this expression in the class that signal to noise ratio for quantizer is equal to 3 raised to power L squared, where this is basically peak signal power to average quantization noise power. So this formula says that S over N should be equal to 3 raised to power L squared. As per requirement given in the question, this signal to noise ratio should always be greater than or equal to 30 dB, because this is something that is given by the problem itself. But you need to be sure of one thing, that this quantity is in dB format while this formula is in linear format. So you need to do one conversion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this 3 times L square into dB and then equate it with 30 dB. So as it is a power, so signal to noise ratio is basically signal power to noise power, so I have to multiply it with 10 log to the base 10 3 times L square. So this will make this quantity in dB as well. So now this quantity in dB should be greater than or equal to 30 dB. Now if I solve this equation, then I am going to end up with the value of quantization level or capital L, that is equal to 18. So now if you remember, as we have discussed earlier in the class, that the number of quantization levels should be the power of 2. So if I look at this value 18, this is not the power of 2. So definitely I have two options now. Either I go for the number of quantization level, that is equal to 16, or the number of quantization level, that is equal to 32. So I would go for number of quantization level, L is equal to 32. This means that I should always go for number of quantization levels greater than this value. That is why, because if I go for number of quantization level equal to 16, then I will not be able to fulfill this requirement of 30 dB. So if I need to fulfill this requirement of 30 dB, I need to have the value of L greater than 18. So number of quantization levels should always be greater than 32 in this case. And if I use the same formula, number of quantization level, that is capital L, is equal to 2 raised to power small l, then I can get the number of bits per sample, that is equal to small l, as 5 bits per sample. Okay. Part B says that calculate the system bandwidth as specified by the main spectral lobe of the signal required for the detection of such a PCM signal. So I have this formula which says that the bandwidth W is equal to 1 over TB, where TB is the bit time. So if I have number of bits per sample and I have sampling frequency, so that will give me total data. So basically TB is equal to TS divided by L, that is equal to 1 divided by L into Fs, where L is the number of bits per sample and Fs is the sampling frequency. So in principle this is basically 1 over RB. So I can rewrite this thing as 1 divided by R with a subscript B. So TB is basically the reciprocal of bit rate, which means if I have this value, which is number of bits that I am transmitting in 1 second, and if I invert this value, I am going to get the value of time that I require to transmit 1 bit. So it is basically 1 divided by 40,000, that will give me 25 microseconds. This is basically the bit duration. This is the duration of 1 bit. Now if I have the duration of 1 bit, I can calculate the bandwidth as W is equal to 1 over TB, and that turns out to be 400 kilohertz in this case. The last problem for today's session is 2.9, and it says that a waveform x of t is equal to 10 cosine 1000 t plus pi by 3 plus 20 cosine 2000 t plus pi by 6 is to be uniformly sampled for digital transmission. What is the maximum allowable time interval between sample values that will ensure perfect signal reproduction? And if part B says that if we want to produce 1 hour of this waveform, how many sample values need to be stored? So if we look at part A, it is nothing but an indirect question about Nyquist sampling theorem. So I want to find out the maximum allowable time interval between the sample values. And if I translate this thing in terms of frequency, it will be minimum sampling frequency that is required. So if I find out from this waveform, if I closely look at this waveform, I have two frequencies here. One is 1000T, the other one is 2000T. Now Nyquist criteria says that I need to have the sampling frequency that is at least twice the maximum frequency of the signal. So here it would be 1000T, it is not the maximum frequency, but the maximum frequency will be here. It is 2000T. So if I equate this thing, is this 2000T with 2 pi ft, T will be cancelled out. This 2000 will be divided by 2 pi to give me the value of maximum frequency. So that frequency turns out to 318.3 Hertz. So now if I have a signal that has the maximum frequency that is 318.3 Hertz and I want to sample that waveform, I need to have the minimum sampling frequency that is 2 times this frequency. So that is equal to 636.2 samples per second. So it means Fs is basically 2 times into F with the subscript M. So this is 636 samples per second, and if I want to get the time between two samples, that would be 1 over Fs, and that would be 1 over 636.6 samples per second. That turns out to be 0.0015 second. This is in seconds. Now if I am having 636 samples in 1 second and I want to record 1 hour of this waveform, then definitely I need to multiply this 636.6 samples per second multiplied with 3600 seconds, which is basically the number of seconds in 1 hour. That turns out to be 2.29 into 10 to the power 6 samples. So this is it for today's session.